welcome to the NFT Jungle. I am Emma, aka Nifty Meta Girl, and I am very excited to be bringing you episode 12 of our 12-part series where we are featuring the amazing photographs and photographers that are currently being exhibited as part of our Discovering Photography in Web3 exhibit taking place right now in Venice, Italy as part of the Art Biennale experience. It's really exciting to be able to feature 98 photographs and 90 different photographers in a multitude of different genres at such an amazing location. MetaJungle has sponsored this exhibit, and we've had the opportunity in conjunction with SuperChief to be able to show at such a prominent art fair. So very excited for this opportunity. If you've been following along in this 12-part series, you already know a lot about this particular exhibit that is taking place. But for those that this might be the first episode, highly encourage you to check out the other 11 episodes that we have done to highlight this amazing opportunity. The reason that we are doing this is really to help expose people to what's happening in the Web3 space, especially pertaining to photography. We really feel like these in real life opportunities help bring recognition and also a level of trust and understanding when people can see something in real life, especially in a space that is so well respected as Art Biennale. So we really hope that we will be doing more of these opportunities in the future to be exhibiting NFT art in real life spaces. But it's been a pleasure. A little bit of information about the pieces we're going to cover today and those that are included in the exhibit. This entire exhibit are photographs that have been collected by AlphaTrilogy, and he and myself curated this particular exhibit. And so we've really tried to include a multitude of different photography genres. You'll also find that the photographers range from those that are beginning their photography journey. Many are beginning their NFT journey, but beginning their photography journey to those that are also very well known, respected, and also decorated. So it was important to us to be able to show a variety of different talents. We also really made an effort to be able to include a variety of different locations and also photographers from all around the world. It's something that's amazing about the NFT space is this is really a global community. So throughout NFT photography, we've been able to understand and visit locations, understand experiences, people, and visit locations that before may never have been possible. So it's such an amazing experience. So really appreciate the chance to get to exhibit these particular photographs, but also be able to share more about each of the particular pieces. Now, this last episode, the theme for this series is freedom, which is really a fun theme to wrap up this entire exhibit around. And we took the liberty to express the freedom of collecting and curating photography. You'll notice in this particular set that there's vehicles in each of the photos that we chose, and all of that, some are being street, some are photography, some are architectural. All of them, the vehicle is either essential or extremely complementary to the story. So it's been fun to pull in these images that have a common thread, though are unique in each particular piece. And so throughout this particular episode, we represent photographers from all different walks of life and interests, but really excited to delve in and share with you about each of these. Now, our first photographer that we're highlighting today, her name is Yulia Denisyuk, and Yulia is an award-winning travel photographer, and she is a writer who turned to travel journalism after working as a U.S. Navy sailor and a Fortune 500 brand manager. So she has quite the interesting background. And when you meet Yulia, you'll notice that she has such a strong appreciation for travel and the impact that it has had in her life. Her work has appeared in National Geographic Traveler, Time, Condé Nast Traveler, BBC Travel, Lonely Planet, and more. For past assignments, she has shared a roof with nomads in Mongolia, traced the origins of the Inzik tiles with the artisans in Turkey, and learned the art of imigongo with artists collectives in Rwanda. Her work blurs the lines between street photography, documentary photography, travel photography, and art. She believes in the power of travel to build bridges rather than walls and aims to produce work that sparks a deeper understanding of the people and places around the world, ultimately instills a sense of wonder in the audience. And that is just it's a great example of what a great writer Yulia is. She's just someone that you can tell really appreciates what she does. And though it's not exactly what she started her career path in, it is such a great fit for her. Yulia also is very strongly representing female photographers in the space and female artists in the space. She provides a newsletter on a regular basis where she's trying to bring attention to different female artists in the space. She also has hosted several Twitter spaces turned podcasts where she's highlighting different female artists, collectors, community members, just to kind of help highlight and bring attention there. And Yulia has also provided a workshop for us in the MetaJungle community about travel photography, about places and how to capture those areas that you're traveling to. And the details that she mentions there about your surroundings and the food and just all of every little detail was just so thoughtful and intriguing. I've really enjoyed getting to know Yulia, learning about her process and also about the care that she gives to her work. Now, this particular piece that we're featuring in this collection, it just has such a great vibe, but this is from her Genesis collection called Solitary Journeys. And this particular piece is entitled Number 3, Call Someone. And I just love the texture of the wall in this piece. You can see the shadow of the roof line of the building that this gentleman is standing against. But just love how the piece is framed. I love the man talking on the phone, the van, and this is an occurrence that's happening all over the world at the exact same time, but just love how these elements come together to make such a cohesive, beautiful piece of art. Now in her collection description, she says, what is life if not a solitary journey from one place to the next? Emotions come and go. People enter and leave our lives. Only one actor remains. This collection blurs the lines between street, documentary, travel photography, and art. Every photograph represents a relationship between movement and stillness. My subjects are either on the verge of transitioning to the next scene or being still in the moment, which I love that part of that detail. And that's something that is so, it really unites this particular collection. They are brushstrokes of light passing through life. These frozen moments of time are like still frames in an old movie. Blink and they'll disappear forever. With this work, I aim to capture the transience of a human experience. I'm asking the viewer to slow down, pay attention, and be still enough to look deeply at these images and see the details I've included in the frame. So a really great way of explaining these particular pieces in this collection were shot across 8 countries in the span of 6 years. And in this particular piece, this is a moment that was captured in Morocco, which Yulia explains is a really special place for her. She says that at the Ergchibi Dunes, she says, I was brave enough to imagine that a different path was possible in my life. In Marrakech, I felt an incredible thirst for life and a burst of creativity. It is no coincidence that Marrakech, the Pink City, has attracted tourists from all walks of life to its streets throughout the years. Walking around the Medina, one hot afternoon, I turned my head and saw a man deep in conversation with a friend, a partner, a lover, a distant relative. As shadows fell perfectly on the scene, I knew this was the visual essence of the city. So again, Yulia, just as she is so thoughtful and aware of her surroundings and appreciative of the areas that she travels, she's able to capture it in such a unique way, and you feel like you might have gotten the chance to be there. You don't know if it's a moment that you dreamed or an image that you're seeing for the first time. And I just love that uniqueness yet familiarity that she captures in her pictures. But Alpha has said, this photo makes me smile, as I believe Yulia captured the visual essence of Morocco. So again, that freedom of being able to travel, that freedom of being able to learn about the world around us, Yulia definitely embodies that in her work. So very happy to have this beautiful piece in our collection, in this curated part of our exhibit. Now, our next photographer is another person in the NFT community that we've gotten to know quite well. But Mike Schmidt is also a military veteran, so that's something that him and Yulia have in common, which is quite interesting. But he's based in Brooklyn, New York, and he has a bachelor's degree in fine arts from the School of Visual Arts in New York. Mike attended the Eddie Adams workshop for its 25th anniversary. And he also has done an extensive amount of work on the Staten Island ferry. And he debuted with an interview and publication on CNN. And it's interesting to know that that is part of his work that he did prior to entering NFTs. And now his Staten Island work has been a very important part of his NFT journey, his legacy project titled Lost in Transit. But he is recognized by PDN as a photo annual winner several years in a row and has been awarded as the Sony Emerging Photographer of the Year. So he has quite an interesting beginning to his career, and it'll be very exciting to see where his path takes him. Here in the NFT space, he devotes a lot of time to being an educator, helping artists understand about details that are great to be included in their NFT collection, and also very important elements of curating a successful NFT collection. He hosts our artist feedback AMA session that we regularly host within the MetaJungle community, and also works tirelessly helping other artists as they're working on their journey in the NFT space. And he recently was named Timepieces Artist of the Year, which is a really great honor. So happy to include Mike in this particular part of the series. And this collection that we're highlighting in this series is from his Italian American story, which is a great series shot in New York City, but highlighting the Italian community there. And this particular piece is entitled A Mother Knows Number 8. And when Mike published this collection or minted this collection, this was a piece that automatically stood out to me. I'm so glad that Alpha collected it, but there's just such a vibe in this photo, the colors, the textures, the light, her expression, everything is just such a great photo and capturing an amazing moment in time. I love the bronze tones throughout the image that are coordinated between the car and her headpiece. I mean, it's just such a great photo. And he says that New York City is known for its vast cultural diversity and its distinct neighborhoods that people call home. In this series, I am highlighting a specific subculture of Italian Americans from Bensonhurst to Brooklyn. Italian Americans value tradition, nostalgia, or as some might say, keeping it old school. Young men are taught the importance of being a gentleman, loyalty, and to show respect in the community. This is a code to live by. As an observer, this reminds me of growing up in South Brooklyn with an Italian family. Playing stickball in the street, running through Johnny Jumps in the summer, and mom yelling for dinner at 5:30. She had made sauce and life was a simpler time. I believe this culture is still holding on to many of those memorable traditions of that time and is something to be celebrated. And I love that he has included that about this particular woman, that she's going to be continuing on that tradition of, respect and loyalty, and also cultivating, that strong family value. It's just a beautiful image, and it's wonderful to know that as times are changing, there are people that are still wanting to instill those values in their families. And Alpha says about this particular piece, I love the nostalgic vibe of this perfect capture of the Italian culture in New York City. And New York City is, of course, where Mike is from and where he's currently living, but it's also the subject of a lot of the photography that he's been creating. And it's been so amazing to see the culture and all of the different people in New York City through his view. So definitely follow Mike on Twitter, Instagram, keep up with him on his socials. He's capturing some amazing images and also very active here in the NFT space. So an excellent person to connect with. But love how this piece has played into the curation for this particular part of the exhibit. Now, our next artist is also very passionate about capturing different cultures across the country, but he has a little bit different spin. This is Nathan Bauman, and he was born and raised in northern Ohio. And he says that he has found a lot of his time growing up was spent in common places doing fairly normal things with the only people he knew. And for the longest time, he didn't realize he needed to leave the place he called home to find a new perspective on life. Something that we can probably, a lot of us can relate to. But his mind is rooted in curiosity, and he thrives in fast-paced situations. He says that he is a bit of a nomad, but craves a measurable amount of security and stability. And he says that he's a hopeless romantic at heart. He's found a true and real passion with making images, especially on analog film. And he says he's been to a lot of places, from the rugged backcountry of Montana to the fluid, elegant coasts of Oregon and California, all the way back to the mysterious White Mountains of New Hampshire. And it seems that the only way to remember these places is through photographs. Now, the piece that we've selected for this particular collection, Alpha actually owns several within this collection, and I own one as well. But it's from his collection called Hidden in Plain Sight. And the particular piece that we've selected is called Hidden in Plain Sight number 38, Curiosity, which is a play on the sign that we see there, but also what is going on within this image. So very well titled. And something I love about this collection, which I've highlighted in one of my collection updates in talking about the particular piece that I've collected, but throughout the entire collection, he's done so good titling it Hidden in Plain Sight, because these are images that I know that I've seen these same things looking out the car window as, traveling through areas that I grew up in. And I just love the familiarity. Even though these are in different states, it just gives you a sense of home, a sense of comfort. And it's something that I really appreciate in Nathan's work. But he says, do you ever look around and feel that there is so much that passes us by without noticing? This first drop of Hidden in Plain Sight is a collection of images made over the last 18 months that explores the seemingly obvious yet often overlooked, focusing on Americana in the form of vintage automobiles. The body of work is an intrinsic representation of the ability to find something within nothing. I originally shot the first images for a project last year and have continued to shoot for this particular body of work. The first images made the cut for a small publication that he made in early 2001, and this was a zine that sold out the first edition of 75 copies in less than a week, which is pretty exciting. But again, love this particular piece, and this is such a great example too of this collection. But finding those opportunities that you're passing by, many people are going too fast to even notice, but if you slow down and appreciate the areas, you're going to find gems like this hidden in plain sight. But love what is, the skeleton creature that's there on the back of the truck, and the colors, the way that they play together. And I don't know where this particular piece was taken, but it's just so many interesting details right in one image. And especially with this sign being there, I have kind of an affinity for neon, vintage neon. So absolutely love the piece. But Alpha says that Hidden in Plain Sight is an OG Web3 collection and that he believes will stand the test of time. He says it documents an already faded part of classic Americana. And there's something so cool about minting work onto the blockchain that represents a time and a place that we may lose in the future. So I always really appreciate collections like this being brought into the Web3 space. But really love this particular piece, and Rep does do a great job also of fitting that freedom representation there. Now, our next artist, he is a multidisciplinary artist, and he's based out of New York City, but he also travels quite a bit as well. But this is Oberto Reyes, but in the NFT space, we will know him as Oveck. And he began his career, interestingly enough, as a musician, which this gave him the opportunity to perform in some of the most legendary venues in New York City, Chicago, Washington, Miami Beach, and many, many others. But in 2009, he fell in love with photography while working in a photography studio in New York. He was just sorting negatives and retouching photos, but it exposed him to many different photographers and their techniques. And he says that that's where his love for photography began. He says that over time he started experimenting with artistic portraits using Photoshop and in-camera. He developed a distinctive look on his work, adding motion blur, specifically on portraits, which gave it a psychedelic or painterly look. His work attracted the eyes of a large following on Instagram, being featured and suggested on different occasions, and also attracted different brands like Sony, Amex, Holdfast Gear, and others. And excitingly enough, in 2016, Sony invited him to be an ambassador of their brand as a photographer, which led him to travel the world on all sorts of assignments. Now, in 2020, when an infection left him half blind, he actually dove into painting and started experimenting with oils on canvas every day for months. He did not have any formal training prior to this, but was determined to learn. These days, he is more comfortable with the hobby and has transitioned to digital painting and animation. Now, in this particular piece, this is Havana Veja, and which is a beautiful, beautiful image. And you can see his appreciation for textures and colors throughout this particular piece. I love the lighting and how the background is more lit than the foreground, but also the light on the vehicle there that is the centerpiece of this particular piece, and those colors, how they mesh with some of the background colors, but it really just also helps that car pop and stand out. It's just a beautiful photo. And Oveck does include a great description for this particular piece. He says, in March of 2017, a group of friends and I embarked on a trip of a lifetime full of unforgettable moments that changed the life of a lot of people. It was the first time we've ever visited Cuba, a place that stole our hearts, and with its people, food, classic cars, and somewhat a beautiful decay that felt like it was frozen in time for over a century. The timeline of what that country has dealt with in its history books, and one can only imagine what reality could be. He says, I particularly found Cuba and its people are an example of what it is to love with little to none, but live to fight another day for their country and for their beliefs. Cuba has some of the best artists, doctors, and athletes in the world. He said this particular piece happened on a special occasion a day before he was leaving this beautiful country. He says it was during this unforgettable sunset, just as if it were saying, there you go home, never forget about me. And he says that also really interestingly, if you want to know more about Oveck, you should check on YouTube and look up Through the Lens, which is the documentary for his trip to Cuba. I've actually watched this and it's just really, really incredible. Now, Alpha has said about this, I find this photo to be visually compelling with its surreal depiction of colorful Cuban culture amidst a backdrop of slow decay. And I think that goes along very well with what Oveck has described about this piece too. And it really does capture such an essence of what we think about Cuba. And it's always intriguing to see kind of what our expectations of an area we haven't visited can be compared to the reality. And I love how this fulfills, some of those expectations and some of those wonder, but exceeds them as well. So the details and lighting are just so amazing. And of course, the color is just fantastic. But definitely check out Oveck's work, learn more about him. There is a lot of really interesting information out there and beautiful work also. Now, our next piece is created by an internationally acclaimed photographer named Justin Lim, and you would know him on social media as Hurtingbombz. But with his work, it's been seen on Instagram's main page, Vasco's feed, in Asulan's Hong Kong, Bison on the cover of American Airlines In-Flight magazine. And he's been named as one of 21 global photographers who will change your IG experience and is a former IG suggested user. He's worked with clients such as Prada, Chanel, Alexander McQueen, and Tiffany & Company. So quite the amazing recognition and lineup there, which is really, really exciting. This particular series that we've picked a piece from is entitled Hong Kong Stories by Hurtingbombz from 2006 to 2021. And this particular piece is titled Hong Kong Stories number 13, Cowgirl. And Alpha has said about this particular piece, one of my all-time favorite photos. I envisioned a question of where do I go and what do I buy next in order to add to this illusion. So really interesting to hear from a collector's perspective that out of all of the photographs that Alpha has collected, that this one has resonated to such a degree. And with the description that's provided, we can see that this is one of 50 one-of-one photographs that was taken between 2006 to 2021, showcasing Hong Kong's heart of darkness. And Justin says that this collection or these images are closing a chapter in his photographic career. He said, this is a never before minted collection of original photographic works, emblematic of the solitude and cinematic edges of a city, sometimes frayed and unloved. And I just love that, the solitude and cinematic edges of a city, sometimes frayed and unloved. That just creates such a emotive experience with this particular photograph. But it is a gorgeous photograph, and it leaves, instead of giving answers, it leaves so many questions and is kind of the beginning to a really intriguing story. So love the piece. The colors go together so amazingly, from the signage on the buildings to the cars to the woman's shirt, and again, just adds so much intrigue, which I learned that I love when photographs are asking questions instead of providing those answers. It's an interesting realm to enter into, but beautiful, beautiful photograph, and love having this one included in our collection. Now, our next featured artist is one that we've mentioned already in this 12-part series, because he does have another photograph actually in our very first set. But this artist is Hans Kemp, and Hans says that he really loves taking photographs, and you can tell that in the amount of work and also the detail and the stories that he tells within his body of photography. But he has been photographing for most of his life. He said it has really been his therapy. He said, curse and blessing connected in an eternal symbolic embrace. He likes being on the road, and he believes that he was born a nomad. He said, it is the light he is after. Without light, there are no shadows. Without darkness, who can tell you what light is? And he says that the nomad in him spurs him along, tells him to keep looking, and prays whatever it is always remains just around the corner, seemingly with a grasp yet so utterly elusive. He says, as he takes to the road, life gradually reveals itself. Life too needs darkness, for it is what allows the light to shine through. He says his photographs are about life and light, about tirelessly turning corners, and about the encounters that transform us if we dare let it happen, about despair and hope, about this great, sad, and beautiful world we live in, about us. And that, I could not, like that description fits Hans's work so well. And the stories that he's captured, many of his photographs have been collaborated into really impressive and touching photo books. And just the way that he's able to visit an area, infiltrate into the community and the society, and really appreciate it is something I love about Hans's work. And this particular piece that we've included is from a very iconic collection called Bikes of Burden, which is Bikes of Burden, Hans Kemp's cult collection of 130 motorized street beasts is the full title. And this particular piece is called Bikes of Burden number 117, Sunglasses. And to tell you a little bit more about the collection, it consists again of 130 images taken in Vietnam in 2003 and then again in 2010 through 2011. And this was part of Hans Kemp's cult classic photo book, Bikes of Burden, and so far has sold well over 100,000 copies in 4 different languages. Articles on sites such as Slate, Bored Panda, and My Modern Met created a dedicated fan base for these incredibly load-carrying motorbikes. In 2005, the book was mentioned in a keynote speech on the U.S.-Vietnam trade relations by Senator Max Baucus as a vision of a country on the go, a reason to normalize trade relations between 2 former adversaries, a photo book as a policymaker. In 2007, Bikes of Burden was in the Asian Art Biennale, and the National Taiwan Museum of Fine Arts acquired 12 large prints for its permanent collection. In 2011, an expanded edition of the book was published. The added section with more images, aptly called Bikes of Burden Reloaded. Now the bikes accelerate into the crypto space. Start adding these unique digital specimens to your collection now, which we have definitely done. And this collection, it's understandable why it's resonated with so many people around the globe. It's so unique, but also captures a culture in such a curated and interesting way. So definitely, if you're not familiar with this collection, please look further into it. You will be captivated and definitely understand the appreciation that we have for Hans's work. Now, Alpha has said, I wonder if a Web3 photography collection could be taken seriously without a Bikes of Burden piece, a classic collection with a cult-like following, which arrived relatively early to the blockchain. So well said. And again, this is one of those OG collections in the NFT space, but also has such a strong foundation in the real world as well. And not even just a traditional art world, but culture in general. So very happy to include this piece. And again, with Hans's outlook on life, it was only appropriate to include it in a series focused on freedom. Now, our next piece is created by a photographer named Barbara Davidson. And to tell you a little bit more about Barbara, she is a 3-time Pulitzer Prize and Emmy Award-winning photographer, director, both known for her work on victims of gang violence in Los Angeles. And Davidson is a 2019 to 2020 Guggenheim Fellow recipient, and she will also spend a year traveling the United States making portraits of survivors of gun violence using 8x10 film camera, which is pretty amazing. The path that she has chosen and the subject she has chosen to document really, really important work. But Barbara has mastered her storytelling approach through multiple assignments over 2 decades and across 52 countries, covering war, the humanitarian crisis, and the human condition for the Los Angeles Times, the Dallas Morning News, and the Washington Times. She has covered both breaking world events and underreported stories, turning a compassionate eye towards individuals striving for dignity and normalcy, which are really, really amazing. aspects to be able to cultivate into a body of work. But you can tell Barbara's viewpoint through this particular series. And the particular piece that is included is one that really catches your attention. It's entitled Untitled 97. And this is from the Obscura The World Today collection. We've mentioned that several times through this 12-part series, but also I have another podcast episode fully dedicated to talking about this collection and the pieces that I've collected within it. But Obscura TWT is a collection created by 138 different photographers capturing images at the same time for a 2-month period in 2022. It's just remarkable, the amount of work that was captured and the different viewpoints. It's one of my favorite collections in the NFT space. And then this particular piece is one of Barbara's pieces from that collection. And Alpha has said, this car perfectly framed against a backdrop of this artistic building speaks to the creative vision of a wildly talented artist. And yes, I think it really does attest to Barbara's eye to be able to see this particular moment, frame it the way that she does, but also just one of those moments in time that you have to be aware to be able to capture. And really impressed with all the work that Barbara has created. Definitely worth looking into more to who she is as an artist, but also the stories that she tells. So highly encourage you to check that out, but really love all the texture colors that fit so perfectly into this particular piece. And now our last photographer of this particular set of our series and wrapping up our 12-part series, his name is Chris Hytha, and Chris is a designer and visual artist based in the city of Philadelphia. And to tell you a little bit more about him, back in 2015, a passion for photography sparked when Chris was moving from his small hometown just outside the city to Philadelphia to begin architectural school at Drexel University. Chris's visual arts developed alongside his growing skills as a designer, and his architectural influence is integral to his work. His main inspirations to create are light and to build environments. And Chris is definitely an artist in this space whose his signature look is so individualized. When you're scrolling through your Twitter feed and you see one of his pieces, you just know that it's one of his. And this particular piece that we've included is from his Genesis collection, which is Reyes. And this one is Reyes number 63. And each of the images are unique throughout the collection. However, they have, a very signature aesthetic, and you can tell 100% what collection they're from, which I think is such a testament to an artist. In the collection description, he says that the urban fabric of Philadelphia is defined by its row home typology. 2 to 3 stories, 15 to 20 feet wide. Within this constant format, there's a remarkable amount of architectural variety that makes each home unique. Many of these structures have been standing for over 100 years, and for some, that time has started to show. He says these visuals are all photo composites created from several images taken in Philadelphia neighborhoods. The intention of the project is not to show reality, but rather to present each individual home in a consistent and graphic style. Power lines, parked cars, and surrounding houses, if present, are removed to consistently present the architectural character of each home without distraction. There are 100 different homes represented in this collection. It's really, really interesting to see how consistent the images are, but yet how unique each one is. And it really does make sense with it being a passion of Chris's. He's done a beautiful job of really combining all of the elements that he is passionate about into this particular series. In this image in particularly, Alpha has said, green is in all of its glory, provides the glue which holds this composite masterpiece together and pays homage to the architecture which was the building blocks of the industrial cities like Philadelphia. And again, it is just amazing how that artistic viewpoint is used to take these architectural pieces and really create beautiful works of art. Something that's interesting in this piece is it's very unique to have the train in the background and also to have the car in the foreground. So it was really fun to pull this particular piece into this series, which each of them having an automobile, again, either as the focus or as an important element of the photo. But love the freedom that Chris takes to see the world around him and be able to create something special and intriguing for all of us to enjoy. So again, yet a very, very important artist and collection to include in this particular series that we have focused on freedom as the driving genre. But again, that is our last photographer of this particular series. And also, this particular episode wraps up our 12-part series where we've been featuring all the artists, photographs and collections that have been curated to create this exhibit currently happening at Venice Biennale in Venice, Italy. This is the Genesis exhibit for MetaJungle. But we are very excited to be able to provide other opportunities to be able to display NFT photography in real life gallery settings to really help introduce the general public to what's happening here in the Web3 space. There's so many exciting opportunities. We know that we are so new in this space and we really are excited about what the future holds. So if you have missed other episodes in this 12-part series, definitely encourage you to review and check out those other series. In each one, we feature 6 to 8 artists and between 8 to 10 photographs that have been part of this exhibit that we're featuring. Definitely are grateful to have the opportunity with SuperChief Gallery to show at such an important art fair like Art Biennale, but look forward to our future opportunities as well. An exciting detail, next week we'll be joining Art Basel and we'll be joining Monolith Gallery to be able to provide our second in real life photography experience, and are excited about many, many other opportunities. If you have any questions, please leave those below. We'd be happy to connect with you. Also encourage you to check out the show notes if there's any of the photographs or photographers that you would like to connect with. Their information will be there. Please like, share, subscribe. We're regularly creating content in the NFT space and especially in the photography space. So we'd love for you to come along this journey with us. Connect with us on Twitter, which is the main place for NFT talk. But you can find us at MetaJungle NFT. Connect with me directly at Nifty Meta Girl. Thank you again so much for joining us on this 12-part series. It's been fantastic to be able to share with you about each of these artists, and I definitely look forward to our next time together. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.